Hello and welcome back to Yorkshire Railways, and welcome back to a model railway review again, but obviously a little bit more unusual because I'm usually behind the camera at this point. But we're here to talk about the Cavalex Class 60, so this is going to be essentially a re-review of the model. But before I get into that, obviously going to talk a few of the issues that I've had with it, and obviously the reasons why, and essentially conclusions for it, as well as obviously that's anything that may have happened to me might have also happened to you and you're not too sure why. Hopefully this can help some of you out, as well as obviously essentially Cavalex have been absolutely amazing with this. I've had a bit of issues, as some of you may have known, with the slow contact from where I purchased my Cavalex Class 60 from, which was Key Model World. It'd been a little bit of slow replies back and forth trying to find an issue as to why mine hasn't been working. And the bottom of it came down to, it's actually the controller. So because I have made the step to DCC, a lot of the locomotives that I have pre-ordered have just been DC only. And I didn't see the point in upgrading the DC controller because I've gone to DCC now, and I always knew that was the route I was going to take from the get-go, so I just think it's a rational thing for me to do. What's the point in spending an extra £100 on a controller when I'm going to be buying a DCC controller on top of that? So I never bothered to upgrade it, which I know full well the Hornby one isn't great, but I didn't realise it would cause issues such as this, so we'll get to that in a minute. So the main thing that I found with my model was that it was obviously had the issue with the wheels where it was slowing down on curves. Obviously Cavalex realised this upon release, put out a statement saying that, you know, you can get in contact with them direct or to your model retailer of choice depending on where you've purchased it, and essentially send it back. They'll send out the wheel sets, they'll get that fixed. Mine has had that done, and when it was returned, I never had any communication from Key Model World that it was coming back to me. One day I just arrived home from work and it was here. And I thought, oh yeah, great, you know, it's fixed. Tried it out, I had the same issue. It was still slowing down, and if anything, the noise was a little bit worse. So I got in contact with them, basically said, you know, I've had it go back and it's returned to me. I'm not actually sure if it has been fixed. Can you advise on what's happening? They said that, oh, well, it's had the wheel sets changed and they're not really sure why it's slowing down. Can you send some videos? So I sent videos, I've sent numerous emails, but it was sort of, I'd send an email and then about a week later I get a reply, and then reply to that again a week later. And before you know it, a couple of months has gone by since I actually had it returned. And more or less since it has been and I tested it, I pretty much put it back in the box ready for if it had to go back again. So it's just been under here, awaiting a decision. And it was on one of my more recent videos that I sort of said, yeah, I've had a little bit of frustration with this, and Cav actually reached out, as well as a lot of other people said, just bypass Key Model World and go straight to Cavalex, which realistically I probably should have done from the start. I did originally when I had the wheel set issue, and they said to get in contact with Key Model World. Did that, but I thought, oh, as soon as they've asked me to go back, I'll just go back to Key Model World straight away, rather than go straight to them. So yeah, it probably delayed it a little bit. But anyway, they said, yeah, there's a few things that it could be, but without having a look at it, they'll not really be able to decipher too much of what's going on. Luckily, however, I've just been to Key Model World, where obviously Cavalex have been with a stand, and they emailed me of the morning on Saturday, basically saying, you know, if you are popping down, if you could bring it with you, we'll take a look at it at the show. So I did that. I packed it all up in my rucksack, got on the train, zipped down to the NEC, and went and spoke to them for a little bit, passed on my model. They said, yeah, we'll have a look at it, and we'll catch you in a little bit after you've had a look round. So obviously I went around the exhibits and came back to them towards the end of the day, and they were having a look at it, and it turns out the problem is ever so simple. And I forgot who Cav said it was that flagged it up to them, but there was another YouTuber that found the same issue but fixed it on their own accord. I, of course, didn't do that. I thought it was something to do with the motor or the gearing, and that it was essentially by the noise. It sounded like something was mechanically eating itself. Turns out it's not the case. What actually was wrong with it was the circuit board on the top, which if you've got the sound fitted version, you'll not have this issue at all because it has the screws already in it for the speaker housing. But on the DC only versions, basically these screws aren't there and the circuit board wobbles, vibrates, and as that's sort of making contact with what below it creates a vibration noise. And that's what I was hearing, this sort of horrendous mechanical noise. It's not caused any damage to the circuit board at all, it's just the noise itself as it's been going along. So very simple fix, 2 screws and it's sorted. And Cav and Alex very kindly did that for me whilst I was down there, as well as taking a scalpel to the coupling, which they've also flagged up was an issue. The buffer beam where it allows the NEM coupling in has a slight, I don't want to say manufacturing default, but there's basically just a little bit of a lip where the coupling catches and it sticks. So they've essentially said all you need to do is take a scalpel to this little bit of plastic and that will fix the issue. That has subsequently been fixed on further runs of this model, as well as the screw issue. So this has been flagged up. It's noted that any issues of the DC versions, it shouldn't have that issue on further runs. So yeah, a little bit of teething issues, but again, a simple fix. So yeah, I can not thank them enough really for the graciousness they've shown me on being able to fix it, as well as all the good customer service they provided. So yeah, really very thankful to everybody down at Cavalex. One thing they did note, and this is where it comes into the controller, is that the controller that I'm using isn't powerful enough to power the model. And not only that, neither is my DC C controller either. So, and this isn't from Cavalex actually, this is from ESU that does all the electronic components for the model. And it's not only them that they produce all these electronics for, it's a lot of other manufacturers as well. But this is direct from ESU, is that a minimum voltage supply of 14.5 volts is actually required to power the models to their full capability. So I will say that mine on the NC power cab does work. It's running very smoothly, it works absolutely brilliantly, but certainly in terms of for the stay alive to be able to power the capacitors and everything, that extra oomph is needed. Now luckily, I think it's DCC Concepts that make the NC power cab. I have been in contact with them as well, and they said that they do actually sell an alternative transformer for the NCE, and that will take it up to a higher voltage. I forget off the top of my head what it is, but I think it's a little bit more than 14.5 volts, so that will allow you to have that extra boost. So you should have no issues powering these models. So I will be certainly ordering one of those as soon as I can, but I thought that is a relevant information to pass on. Certainly for the DCC users, check your controllers. It might make sense to get in contact with the manufacturer and just ask, if you're not too sure of what you're supposed to look for, ask them what is the operating output voltage of the controller you have. And that way, if you have any issues, you know that it's probably not your model, it's your controller. But certainly I would definitely recommend, if you have had any issues, get in contact with Cavalex direct. That I cannot fault their customer service whatsoever. It's been absolutely fantastic and very speedy replies. So yeah, definitely I would say get in contact with them direct. I wish that I had done from the get-go, because it certainly has been solved a lot quicker than the issues that I've had with Key Model World. And that's not to say Key Model World's customer service isn't bad. It's not. They've definitely been replying with a lot of relevant information. It's just, I get they are probably busy, and the time frame, it's been taking a long time to do that. But anyway, what I'll do now is I will take you through a ride of the performance, and we'll show you actually it can haul a decent sized rake of train. Main thing to note is obviously this is no longer DC, I've had to convert it, so I've just chucked in a Hornby HM7000 chip. I haven't put the sound in there at all, but it's just got the chip on its own, but it's working absolutely fine. So yeah, I'll show you some of the performance now. Okay, so we've got the Cavalex Class 60 down onto the track, and a few things to note, just in case you're watching it wander around. The HM7000 chip that is inside this is actually geared up for the Class 91, so obviously none of the lighting functions work properly other than one of the front headlights. So it's a little bit strange, but either way, all I'm really bothered about is the performance in this, because I've shown the lighting package in detail in the previous video. So yeah, just going to boost the power up, but main thing is obviously one to listen to the noise and obviously look at the smooth performance. So here we go. So this is on speed step 1. So yeah, very, very nice crawl, just upping the power a little bit. And this is the thing, it does happen to happen. This is just because my track isn't queued up for DCC. It does go a little bit funny sometimes, but I have had it running, so I'm not going to knock any points off on performance on this. So there you go. I do have to get a little bit more used to driving in DCC. I do sort of forget about the stay alive, and then it zooms off in the opposite direction. Again, I've done it again. Coming back, but yeah, you can see performance-wise, I have nothing to complain about at all. I've got nothing to complain about the smoothness. It's just running absolutely perfect. I definitely say if you are on DC, what I would like to know is, have you had any issues with the performance? Certainly I would definitely check the controller voltage output if you have, but yeah, it would be nice to sort of get a collective if anybody else has had any issues at all. But anyway, what I'll do now is I'll just cut to me getting the wagons. So I'm going to test it with, again, the same wagons that I tested before, which is the Freightliner, is it the HYA or HIA limestone hoppers. But yeah, obviously they've got a load inside them now. They're not too heavy because they are filled with foam, but again, they are probably one of the more heavier wagons that I have. I've got 6 of them, so yeah, it's a good test to prove the haulage of it. Okay, so here we go, maiden voyage of the Class 60 in all peak performance. So just upping the power. Nice and steady. I'm not going to go for something too major. I think we'll go for a fairly prototypical speed. There we go. Set that running and we'll take a look. So yeah, as you can see, Class 60 hauling these quite heavy wagons, and it's not struggling whatsoever. Yeah, absolutely perfect. There we go, coming round. It is such a stunningly gorgeous model. So I'm really happy now it's working. This is the area where it usually goes a little bit dodgy, and I had it running the other day, it sometimes does go off on this point work, but made it through absolutely fine. I put a bit of extra cork under there to stabilise it, but yeah, I'm not going to penalise it too much if it does go off there, because it's not the only loco that has been suffering with that curved point. It's all just down to the fact it's got no cork under it and it's not pinned down, so it does tend to flex a little bit with some of these heavier locos. Don't do it on the lighter locos, but definitely the heavier ones. But yeah, as you can see, we've done a full lap and we're about to do a second. It is running so smooth. I'm really happy with it. And again, it's absolutely gorgeous. The one thing I will note is what Cavalex did tell me about the sound fitted versions. But we'll get into that at the end of the video, so I will remember to put that in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's this is nothing to do with the model, it's to do with my layout. So it's currently set up for DC, but I've somehow managed to get the controller to work with the Class 60. But every now and again on this set of point works, so here I think it is to do with the rail joiners, but here and here it sometimes does cut out, not all the time, but I know it's nothing to do with the Class 60. It's to do more with the track work, so I'll not penalise it at all for that. But as you can see, it's not struggling at all. There has been a bit of a dip in that corner as well, so it's currently going up a little bit of an incline there, and as you can see, no issues whatsoever. So yeah, I am really happy with how this has come out. And what I'll do now is I'll flip back to me sat in the chair, and we'll go on a little bit about the sound fitted version. Okay, so as you've seen, the performance from the Class 60 is absolutely fine. It is really good at hauling, so no problems with that. So as you know from the first video I put out to now, obviously, yeah, it's on a different controller, but in terms of the actual performance of the model, it's the same model. So yeah, I've got no burning issues at all with this. Moreover, anything, I can't wait to get the sound files. So I thought I'd dig a little bit deeper into the difference from, say, a Cavalex model sound fitted to a, well, say like a Hornby or a Bachmann, even a Dapple, Helion or anything like that. So the main difference really, and it was through talking to Cav and Alex, what they're actually trying to achieve as a company is to provide a premium model, and obviously not only a premium model at a sort of relatively affordable cost, but bridge that gap between a toy train and a real train. And the difference that they say they're going into that, and where they sort of differ from other companies, is that they are having, rather than say a sound fitted version, and I think really you should probably consider, rather than calling it the sound fitted option, is changing it to what they actually described it to me as, was driver experience model. And that is essentially what it is. So that they showed me after they'd fettled with mine and fixed it, they picked up one of the sound fitted versions and showed me essentially what it intakes in like the whole different functions that they can put out. I believe they told me they have 32 functions. I wouldn't quote me on that because I can't quite remember, but it was something around about that. And they said that the controller they had didn't even go up to 30. And I believe mine doesn't as well. I think mine, the highest mine can go is, I think, 29. So yeah, 30 different functions, that is crazy. Or 30 plus or something like that. So it is absolutely crazy to think that is the sort of level that we're moving into. But yeah, the reason they described it as a driver experience rather than, say, a sound fitted version was because they were trying to bridge the gap from the toy train to the real experience, and this is essentially probably the closest you're going to get. So they took a full day and they recorded absolutely every single sound that this machine makes in real life, as well as, not only that, what the driver has to do in order to get the machine to function. So much so they told a very funny story about there is a door to the engine bay, and they said when they had the sound guy who went in to record it, basically it was open the door, went to close it, and it wasn't closing properly. And the guy who essentially drives the train came in and says, no, you've got to really slam it. And apparently went in and absolutely threw this door into the door, just went with this absolutely monumentous bang. But because it's a sound recording, to anyone that has worked like in sound recording or does a little bit of filmmaking for fun, you'll know that sound recording, you don't just go take one, that's it. They said that this door was probably slammed probably about 50 odd times, all with this monumentous bang, which definitely said to, so it does sound hilarious that this guy sort of just came and says, no, you've got to bang it, and just threw it shut. So yeah, but what they've created then is a sound file, not only to make it sound like it's the real thing running along your layout, but to add that extra depth to the controls. And by doing that, when you're controlling it, you're almost going to driving the actual thing in real life, just for a controller. Obviously it's a miniature version, but the way you would operate it is how you would a real life Class 60, which I think is a really great step into the evolution of where models are going. And the way they described how they want their sort of company to go is thinking in terms of like car brands would be like Aston Martin, it's that premium upper brand, but you're getting everything for that. And I think that's a great achievement to go for. In terms of looking at the sound models of this and the cost of them, they're not too dissimilar to the new Hornby one. And I asked them, how do you feel about that? And they were very candid, is probably the best way, but they said the Hornby model stands up to the test of time. It certainly looks great, but compared to this one on the Acura scale, in terms of detail, it is lacking a little bit. But in terms of an alternative, it's still a very, very good model. So yeah, hats off to them for being nice, but I'm sure everyone wants to go, theirs is the best. But yeah, I thought the sound model definitely sounds incredible. One thing they definitely showed me was the initial startup. So going from a static model to actually not even driving it, but just to actually start up the model from scratch. And it went from the driver getting in, opening the door, closing the door, opening the door into the engine room, into the cab, getting into there, starting it up, obviously making sure that everything was up, all the cylinders and everything. I don't know the technical terms for it all, but essentially getting everything in the engine ready to actually start moving. And I said, how long does it actually take to go from like off to on? And they said, it takes roughly about a minute, as it does in sort of real life. They just recorded the guy going through, and I was like, that's incredible. I mean, like, I thought at one point, I was like, is it actually started yet? And it carried on going. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I can certainly see the depth of it. It takes that function of, because I've had it a few times, not necessarily with the sound models, but even the DC ones, get it, run it around, it runs around a few laps, and I sort of think, yeah. And I know it's because I've got no scenery, but I sort of think, I'm a little bit bored now. What do I do next? So I think having that mindset that you are actually driving it and having to put in the correct functions to actually make it operate properly, I think that is a great way of keeping the playability alive. So yeah, I really, really look forward to when the sound option becomes a separately alternative that you can buy on top of it, which they said should hopefully be available for sort of the Run 1 ones in the next couple of months. So yeah, that should be an exciting time, and I will definitely be picking up the sound options after seeing that, as well as obviously a boosted transformer for my NCE so that I can operate this correctly. So yeah, I will be doing that. But anyway, I've been rambling quite a bit now, so I think what we'll do is we'll zip on and we'll do an updated ratings. Okay, so this is the ratings for Cavalex's Class 60 Ben Nevis Key Model World exclusive, and we'll start off with the performance, which you probably noticed has made a significant jump from my original assessment, which was 2.5 stars, to 5 stars. Certainly, it is well deserved. You know, Cavalex owned up to the wheel set issue. Obviously, mine didn't have an issue with the motor, it just turned out to be the controller, so I will take full responsibility for that. But having it on the DCC controller, it's faultless, really. Performance-wise, it's absolutely fantastic and a pleasure to run on the layout finally. So yeah, absolutely well-deserved 5 stars. Detail-wise, the top of my scoring system only goes to 5 stars, but having spoken to Cav and Alex about the actual process of how these are put together, I wish I could award it higher, but I am just stuck at 5 stars because what they were telling me was in the factory, for instance, you can see some of the detail on the photograph here of the bogies. Each individual component will be assembled by one person and they will make, you know, X amount a day really, and they will do them all the same that you can't even tell the difference, which definitely, you know, to say these are hand assembled shows the incredible talent that these people possess in the factories over in China. It's something I certainly couldn't do, and certainly not in a set time frame. It would probably take me all day just to get one of these components into it. You know, my eyesight isn't the best anymore, and yeah, certainly I probably haven't got as of steady hand to do that. So yeah, I have got full appreciation for the detail work on this, 100%. Livery wise, again, I've no issues with the livery as I did before, so that's stayed the same. Again, really nice crisp paint jobs on there. The decals are all amazing, so yeah, absolutely fantastic, and there's no noticeable paint bleeds that I can see anyway, so yeah, absolutely fantastic. Quality wise, I didn't award this 5 stars, and this is simply down to the fact that obviously there was the issue with the wheel sets and the circuit board, so I think it would be unfair to award it 5 stars now. However, I have bumped it up from originally 2.5 stars to 4.5 stars, just knocking it down that half a point for the few noticeable issues. However, the reason it's jumped up so high, even having those, is just from the way that it has been dealt with by the team at Cavalex. Fantastic customer service, so yeah, I can't fault that in any way, and every single issue that has crept up on these, they fixed without problem. So yeah, definitely a well-deserved score there. And then value-wise, again, having assessed obviously the build process and, you know, talking to the guys, I originally gave this 3.5 stars for value. I've upped that now to 4 stars. I do think, certainly, you know, I appreciate everything that Cav and Alex are trying to achieve with the company. However, obviously, we do have the Akira scale coming, which is significantly cheaper for both the DCC version and the sound fitted version. So yeah, I will eventually at some point get this sound fitted with the correct files for the Cavalex Class 60 when that is finally released. So yeah, I will do a comparison video once I have them both fitted, because at the moment the Class 60 I have coming from Akira scale, that is just DCC ready, but I'm tempted to up it to the sound fitted version, just because certainly, you know, with the issues that my DC controller is going to have with the ESU circuitry, I'm a bit dubious on that now, so I'd rather any sort of models that I have coming if I can. I'm not saying it's a promise, because again, money does have to come into contact with that, but certainly I'm definitely tinkering in my brain is how I could possibly try and get the sound version straight away, so I can just go straight onto the DCC controller using the NC power cab. And again, obviously I will get that upgraded transformer as well at some point. I did contact DCC Concepts, who were the manufacturer. They did send me a link for it. I can't remember off the top of my head how expensive it is. Around about £26 rings a bell, so it's not too bad. So yeah, I will definitely pick one of those up as soon as I possibly can. But anyway, that leaves us with an overall rating of 4.7 stars, which I think is a very, very, very good score, really. It's, you know, not quite 5 stars, so it does leave that little bit of wiggle room for a Scale to outperform it. But again, it's going to be a really, really tough one to beat. You know, now that the model is working, it is absolutely fantastic. And I definitely say, if you haven't got one, I'd go and pick one up. But if you are having issues with one that you have got, you know, certainly always first protocol would be to contact the retailer that you purchased it from. But if you're not having much luck, because at the end of the day, a lot of retailers do have to sort of go through the manufacturer, and that can take time because effectively they are just the middleman. So they take your email, pass it on, wait for the reply, then have to reply to you. And if you are getting a bit frustrated and it does seem to be taking a little bit of a long time, I would 100% urge you to contact Cavalex direct. Their customer service has been faultless, really, really good, very quick and to the point, and they've got mine up and running very, very quickly. Granted, it probably did help that the fact I was going to Key Model World so I could take it with me, but again, it's one of those instances that they probably would have done it very quickly as well had I sent it to them through the post. So yeah, can't thank Cav and Alex and the rest of the team at Cavalex enough. Really, really grateful that this is up and running, and yeah, an absolutely fantastic model. Going to be a tough one to beat. But yeah, that is all from me today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, as well as drop a comment down below. Have you got a Cavalex Class 60? Which one have you got? And have you got the sound fitted / driver experience model, or have you just got the DC ready version? I'd love to know that in the comments down below. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying the video as well as the channel, hit the subscribe button. It's free to do so, but it massively helps me out as a YouTuber and the channel and everything. It helps my channel grow. So yeah, really, really be a great thing if you can do it. As I say, it's free to do so, so it just takes a click. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next video. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.